This conference will now be recorded.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to Chapter 2, part of our personal finance course here on Udemy. And let's talk about money and the different ways to use money. We're going to go over cash, debit cards, credit cards, and checks. All right? I know it sounds very basic, but maybe a refresher could help you. Maybe you're just starting out. You're not really sure. Maybe from a different country. You're not really sure. Maybe you're just a college student who's 18, who just wants to understand the basics. Let's go and go over everything together. Well, let's start with the basics. Money. What is money? Money is basically a vehicle in order to purchase goods and services. That's it. You may know what money is, such as cash. Good old cash. Piece of paper with pictures on it, so we don't fight each other in the streets for food, right? So what does money get you? Goods and services, like I said. You can always use cash. Of course, when you use cash, depending on the cost, you get change, which is the difference between what you paid for and what you got. Simple as that, right? Cash. You can always use good old-fashioned cash, do whatever you want. Now, of course, what are the downfalls of cash? Well, you can lose it. Once it's gone, there's no protection of your cash. You lose your wallet, you can get robbed. Knock on wood, you don't want that. But again, having a ton of cash on you usually isn't very smart. The good news is that we're in a different era now, technology. We have different ways to pay for things. Maybe you don't want to pay for your rent and your mortgage in cash. Don't want to do that. Completely understand. Who carries $1,000 with them in cash? Very rare do you see that. But recommendation, if you do have a wallet, carry about $100, maybe $50, $20 in different kind of denominations of bills for tips at restaurants, for valet parking if you valet, or just petty cash with you. I would say on a given moment, I would say I carry maybe about $80 in my wallet just to have at any time, any point, something that's very small, that's only cash intensive. You know, tips, restaurants, like I said. If you go out to eat, valet parking, they usually don't accept cards. Again, sometimes you want to go to a food truck, they don't accept cards. Cash is always good to have. Again, don't carry too much cash. But again, $80, $50 in different denominations, 20s, 10s, small ones, 5s. Those are pretty good, a good rule of thumb to have some cash in your wallet. The next thing we're going to go over is good old-fashioned debit cards. Debit cards. See where it says debit? This is my debit card from Citibank. What does a debit card do? Well, debit card is, you have two types. You have a debit card and ATM card. That shows without this MasterCard logo. See, it's a MasterCard on it. That's a debit card, but this has MasterCard capabilities. So what does that mean? You can make purchases with this debit card. When you purchase something with a debit card, it takes money directly out of your checking account. Directly. No credit card, no credit, no debt, nothing. Just comes out. You have $100 in your bank account, you put $20 worth of gas, $20 comes out of your checking account with the debit card. It's easier than writing checks, which we'll go over. But again, it also gives you protection. If you ever lose your debit card, you're not liable for any kind of lost money. You lose your debit card, it's stolen or skimmed. Skim is where someone just takes your card information and starts buying stuff. So you get the added protection from cash with a debit card. So debit card is something you do want to use. Again, if you want to purchase things, smaller items and what have you, because it comes directly out of your checking account. So again, if you have $100 in your checking account, use your debit card, again, debit card, for $20 for gas, you get $20 out, how much money you have left? $80, very simple. Again, comes directly out of the checking account, no debt. That's the benefit of a debit card. Now, a couple things about the debit card we want to go over. Sometimes some people have just ATM cards. ATM cards you can't use just like a debit card. There's no MasterCard logo and there's no Visa card logo on it. So all you can do is just take out cash from the machine. So you put your ATM card there, you put your PIN number, which you would set up with your bank account. We'll talk about banks in the later chapters, and then you get good old-fashioned money, depending on how much you have in your bank. So a couple things of the downfalls of debit cards. A couple things. Here's a tip. When you use your debit card, right, and you're not really sure how to use it, always, let's say for example, the biggest purchase, I would say the most common purchase people use a debit card is for gasoline. You know, gas pump. Now, in different states, you can't just put your card and you can't even pump your own gas, like New Jersey. But if you decide to put your own gas, which you could do in most states, and you use the machine, you actually put your debit card in and you pull it out. Keep in mind, you need to be very careful because it will only put a $1 hold on your account, your checking account, $1 hold. Even though if you put $20, $30, $50, you only get a $1 hold. So that means tomorrow on your bank account, it'll show if you had $100 and you put $30 worth of gas, $99 left in the account because there's a dollar hold. It's called an authorization. What does an authorization mean? The bank is just verifying with the gas pump or the gas company that your account does work. Your debit card has money in it. It only checks for $1. Then it takes 3 to 5 business days to settle. Does that mean you have $99 to spend? No, that's where you want to write down your stuff and be cognizant of the fact that you don't have $99 left. You spent $30 on your debit card to pump gas. Guess what? You only have 70, not 99. So be very careful. That's a way to overdraw your account. Overdrafting is not good. It means your account is went to the negative, your checking account, and you get charged $30 or $35 fee, and that can eat up your bank account really, really fast. So again, if you do want to put gas, I highly recommend you go inside and you tell them, hey, I want to put $30 worth of gas, $20 worth of gas, and you're done. Or the simpler way, when you actually put your debit card in the machine, right, in the gas pump, you want to put your PIN number. You want to choose debit. Debit means you actually use your PIN number. Credit means that it's just signature. You're just using your signature like a credit card. You're just signing it. Again, only the gas stations where you have this issue. Again, these gas pumps can be very confusing. So again, my rule of thumb, if you put your card in the gas pump, use your PIN number, the money will come out immediately because that's called debit, not credit. So with this card, you can use debit or credit. That's why when they ask you credit or debit, credit means you're using the MasterCard or Visa part of the card. Again, it's on hold for 3 to 5 days. Money comes out, depending if you use the gas pump or not. Anything else, if you buy a t-shirt, it'll come out right away. It'll be on hold. On hold, it's called authorization, on hold. But if you use your PIN number, let's say your PIN number is 1234, it'll come out immediately. It'll be just like good old cash. So understand that. Credit versus debit. Debit comes out immediately, credit takes a couple days. It doesn't mean this is a credit card, mind you. It just means it's using the MasterCard or Visa network, the credit system, the processing system to take money out. So again, in review, if you're going to go ahead and use your debit card and you're not really sure about maybe you might overspend, simple, go inside, ask for your gas, $30, $20, whatever you pump your gas with, or use debit, meaning put your PIN number. Then it'll come out immediately. You won't have any issues with overdrafting or anything like that. So this is just a downfall of the good old debit cards. Just be very careful, but they're great to have because you're not going to have any debt using this bad boy. And it's safer than cash. If you lose your card, make sure to call your bank right away. There's a number in the back of it. Number of the back. You want to make sure you have that on your phone. If you ever lose your card, you give them a call. They verify who you are, using your social, your bank account number, and they'll block the card, issue a new one, usually no charge, depending on the bank you have, and then you're solid. And you're not liable for any transactions. So again, this is safer than this. You lose this, you lose it. You lose this, you're fine. You're not liable for any charges. Just make sure to call your bank. Now we're going to go over credit cards. Credit cards. For example, this is a credit card. This is an American Express. American Express is a credit card. They also have charge cards. Charge cards, what do? Charge cards, think of it as a debit card. You know, it's not credit, but you can use it on the credit card network, meaning whatever you purchase that month, whether it's $500 or $50, you have to pay them when it's due within 28 days. So you have 28-day banking cycle, right? And then within that 28th day, you'll have about another week to pay them back. So they're basically entrusting you with your credit to pay them back. This is a good way to earn different kind of rewards, different perks, and more added protection, whether it's rental cars, whether it's purchasing protection, you bought a refrigerator. Some companies, bank issuers like a Chase, American Express, or what have you, will protect your purchase. So again, credit cards are a little more advanced. Again, if you're just starting out, don't worry about credit cards. We'll talk about that in later chapters. But again, credit card is different from a debit card. They're both different. So keep that in mind. They're both different. So what is the difference between a credit card? There's no PIN number. There's no cash. So what's good is that if this is stolen, same thing, you just give them a call and they'll go ahead and get you a new card. And you're not liable for any transactions. Simple as that. So you get that added protection, that added peace of mind. And what's good too, this is the separate part, is that this is not connected to your bank account. If your debit card gets stolen and somebody starts racking up charges, that's your bank, that's your livelihood, that's your money in your bank. Sometimes it does, if you dispute it, it takes about 3 to 5 business days to get your money back. You'll get it back, but then you're behind if you have rent due or other things like that. So again, it's kind of a downfall sometimes of using a debit card. You want to make sure that you want to protect your information. Don't use your debit card too much online. Just make sure that it's a accredited company like an Amazon or an eBay. If you buy something, Don't give your debit card information to anybody. Very, very important. But with credit, you get that protection that you're not losing your bank, because let's say if someone racks up $1,000 on your credit card, you're not liable for it. You don't have to pay it right away. So you're good. So again, your bank account money is not touched. Again, you have different levels of protection. This is the most convenient. This is the most widely accepted, 100% accepted everywhere. But again, there's liability, because if you lose it, it's gone. Debit card, widely accepted for the most part if it's a credit card. If it's on the credit card system, MasterCard or Visa, right? But again, if you lose it, again, you can be liable for, you're not liable for charges, but it can hit your bank account 3 to 5 business days. You can be overdrafted. So be very careful. Debit cards and credit cards, again, not available for everybody. You have to have good credit to good credit card, depending on your line of credit. But again, the most protection is on a credit card, because you have protection of your money, because it's not yours. You're not liable. And also, you also have protection. You also have perks. You also have points, everything like that. So again, you want to kind of label it the way it is. Cash is the most accepted, debit card next, credit card next. Some places don't accept Amex or Discover, for example. But this is kind of the basics of money and the different mechanics. The next thing we're going to talk about is checks. A lot of people don't even know how to write a check, or maybe you've seen a check. So let's kind of go over it together. When you open a bank account with a bank, you get a checkbook if it's a checking account, right? So this is a basic check. This is how it works. So we're going to start from left to right, downwards. Top left part, you have your name. Let's say your name is John Adams. You have your address right there. Usually has the account open date next to it. And then the right, you have your check written date. When would you write a check? Usually you write a check for big ticket items, which is your rent, maybe your car payment, your mortgage, stuff like that. Big ticket items where you don't want to withdraw $1,100, $500, or they don't accept credit cards. A check. Yes, checks have been more and more obsolete now, but they're still around. So understand that. Just like a debit card, you can overdraw your account with a check. It's called check bouncing. So again, if you write a check and you don't have enough money to cover it, you write a check for $50 and your account only has $20, you may get the items, but again, your account is overdrawn, and then you'll be charged fees called overdraft fees. So be understanding the fact that if you write a check, understand that money may not clear until 3 to 5 days or what have you. You don't want to call kiting checks. That's what people call it. That's illegal in some states, and you can get arrested. So you got to be very careful when you write a check. Make sure you have the money there. Good thing to kind of get over that. You have online banking. You also have your checkbook. Also on the back of a checkbook has something called a check register. So every time you write a check, you just write down exactly the amount, and then you take about how much you took out according to your balance. Again, just don't start writing checks like crazy, guys. This isn't free money. Just be understanding. So check written date. You write the date of the exact time you wrote this check. You don't do something called post-dated checks unless you're specified to do so. So you always write the same date. Today, for example, is February 16th, 2020. You write that date. The top right corner, right over here, is the check number. What number is the check? Sometimes when you open a new account, it starts with check 001 or 101 or 201. Sometimes be very careful. When you write a check, some people will not take a check that's labeled 101 because it's a new account. Sometimes it could be fraud there. So you want to go ahead and do this little trick. You want to start from the middle. So instead of starting at 101, start at 120. 120, rip out the check and start writing it. Because some people will be a little worried to see check number 101. Will you just open this account? Or 001, you want to go ahead and get to the middle of the check, so you rip out your check and start writing it. Pay to the order 2. What are you buying? Who are you buying it from? If you're writing a check to, if you're paying your landlord, you write your landlord's name or the mortgage company, whether it's Quicken Loans or Bank of America or Citibank, you write their Citi Mortgage, Bank of America Mortgage, or John Doe, who is your landlord, right? You write that person's name down right here under recipient. Next, on the little box is the amount. So we want to write it out example. So you want to actually write it out correctly. So if it's $1,000, you write out $1,000, just like that. The number, the actual digits. You don't have to write a dollar sign, just 1000 and then 0 cents, a little line, and you're good. You just have to write it numerically under the amount. Below that, you need to write the actual amount in words. So you actually have to write 1,000, if I could spell, $1,000. You actually have to write it down, $1,000. Now, if your spelling isn't perfect, don't worry, they'll still accept it. But again, this is going to test your spelling here. It could either be embarrassing or it just could be fun just to write it, just a heads up. And of course, when you are done writing the check, $1,000, it's very important to write a line next to it. just a regular line, and then you want to put 2 X's for the cents if it's just no cents, and you write the exact cents, 36 over 100, like a fraction. So how does a fraction look like? You write 36 over 100 for 36 cents, and you write like that. 36 over 100 equals 36 cents. It's an example, but that's how you do it. Next, on the bottom, you'll have the exact bank, who your bank is, the bank address. Where'd you open the account? Did you open online? Did you open at a retail branch? Or over the phone? They'll give you the bank address. Sometimes this is important for wire transfers. So again, not a huge deal, but again, it's good. You'll have, anytime you ever need the bank address, you'll have it on your checkbook. Very easy. Next, you have the memo. The memo. What's it for? To rent, car payment, car down payment, housing down payment, stuff like that. You write on the memo. They don't care. It's just for your records. Next you have is your good old signature. I don't know how your signature looks like, but again, just don't put an X. Make sure to sign it the way you want to sign it. Make sure to sign it the way you signed it at the bank. It's called a signature card. So when you sign and open a new account, whatever signature you made that day, that's the signature you need to make for your checks moving forward. Okay? Don't try to change anything. Don't try to change your name. Just the same signature as before. And next, the numbers on the bottom, right? What the hell does that mean? All these crazy numbers. Very simple. The routing, or what we call ABA number. The routing number is based on the Federal Reserve. So you go ahead and go to Federal Reserve. You really don't need to know this, but again, it's easy to understand. So you go to Federal Reserve routing numbers, if you want to go in Google, and you can see different routing numbers for different banks. There's tons of them, tons of them. So there's different branches of the Federal Reserve based on where you live or where you open the account. So again, there's different maps. So you can go to Federal Reserve Bank map, and I can go ahead and open here under images. And anytime you open an account, just so you know, let's look at the top right here. Let me see if I can open this a little more. See if I can open that image. And it's not opening, that's fine. So if your ABA routing number starts with a 1, you're on the Northeast. You're in the Northeast, the Boston area. Boston is the head of the Federal Reserve for that bank. That's the governorship. 2 will be New York, 3 will be Philadelphia, Board of Governors is in Virginia, which is 5, Richmond, Virginia. 4 is Cleveland, 6 is Atlanta, meaning if you write a check out of Miami, it's going to clear through Atlanta. Just a heads up. Then you have Chicago, number 7, 8 St. Louis, 9 Minneapolis, 10 Kansas City, 11 in Dallas, and 12 San Francisco. San Francisco has the most area square footage for cents if you care about that stuff. But again, that number was what that means. It usually starts of where does your actual routing number, where does your bank route? When you write a check, it routes it to the nearest Federal Reserve, and it actually cashes it that way to your nearest governorship. So if you write a check in San Francisco, it's going to take a couple of days to get to Miami, if you're in Miami, to clear in Atlanta. And if you wrote a check in Boston, but you're from your account's in San Francisco, it's going to take a couple of days to clear. Now with electronic e-checks, meaning sometimes now people write checks and it clears through electronically, verifies how much money you have, and it takes about a day. So the old school way was they would send out the checks to the original governorship and process it that way. Now we have e-checks in the internet, and data flow takes about a day to go through. So when you write a check, it takes about 1 or 2 days to go through and come out of your account, called a debit. Next, you have your account number. You want to be very careful about giving this out. When you write a check, you're giving out your account number, just a heads up. So make sure to keep your checks in a safe place, maybe a safe, maybe a shoebox, maybe your closet, whatever. Next, you have the check number, just like you have on the top right. Pretty self-explanatory. That's what the numbers mean, guys. So again, you also have with checks something called duplicates, meaning that if you write a check, there's a piece of paper behind it, very carbon copy, very light, and it punches through the check, so you actually have a copy on the back of it, so you can actually see it. See, oh, I wrote that check for my landlord, and I have a record of it. That's a good way to keep records. Another way, every 30 days, you get a statement, whether it's online or paper statement in the mail to your mailing address from your bank. It'll show you exactly what you wrote a check for. Online banking, if you have an app or you have a computer, you can actually see by clicking checks, it'll come out and show you exactly what the checkers wrote for, because they take a picture of every check you wrote. So again, that's another way to check how much checks you wrote and balance your checkbook, your checking account that way. Easy way to flow, very basic stuff, but that's the basis of money, checking account, writing checks, cash, debit card, credit card. This is the basics of money, guys. I know it's running a little slow. I'm probably putting you to sleep, but you'd be surprised how many people don't know these things. So that's the basis of it. Again, cash, Debit card, credit card, checks. Be in control of your money, how things work. These are all instruments to money. How you choose to use it is up to you. But again, there's different ways to do things. I hope you find the best way for you guys. All right, guys, so that's the basis of money. We'll catch you in the next chapter, guys.